when we found this place, on October the 12th, 2000, unfortunately, that was the same day my father died.
Yeah.
And then my mom a week later. So
at
that point, I really wasn't interested in anything, but we had already found the place, and a friend that helped me find the place, he just called me November 14th. I knew it well because I wasn't getting out of the bed.
Yes.
And he said, do you still want the place? And for a reason I can't explain, I just said yes and got up, and I got the place that day.
That wasn't none but God.
So, and then December 10th, we opened.
When I think about how you've been teaching the kids.
Definitely.
The kids.
They actually started doing the catering. That was behind the scenes. They were pretty little. I mean, like 10, 11, something like that. And they helped me a lot there, which was the catapult for this. It brought this about. So they were very instrumental. My mom doing the catering. So without that, this couldn't have happened.
Recently, to be honest, it's been hard for us. Me and my sister, we're co-owners now, and my mother passed away this year in January, and it was really hard because it was not something we seen coming. And previous to the year before, we had a fire that burned down the kitchen, and so we were closed for 6 months.
Right.
So after that, it was just one after another. So we basically had to really climb a tall wall to get over that stepping stone. And now, I mean, it's a blessing because since that's happened, we've seen an influx in business. We've seen the blessings pour in. Me and my sister were just blessed to be in the position that we're in.
Hello, and welcome to the Orange Peel Podcast, where we peel back the covers on juicy, hidden truths. We have a great program for you today. We have a great guest that I've been looking forward to spending time with, Craig Joseph.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the set. Craig is a successful business owner and a Christian father, and so he has a lot that he can share with us today. But before we get into business, we're going to talk about what you do for fun, Craig. What do you do when you're not making the restaurant run?
Well, of course, I love sports. I love basketball and I love watching football. But as far as personal fun, it's really in the work that I do. It's own the business because it's a nonstop process that you go through when you own a business.
You are a blessed man because an old mentor of mine told me that the most blessed man is someone who has a job that's fun, or a job that's actually their hobby. And so God's been good to you.
Yeah, well, yeah, most definitely. It's more of it's a commitment. You know what I mean? Because if I own a business that I didn't believe in, I wouldn't take it so serious. It wouldn't be an everyday thing. It'll be, I need to break away and do this, which you still need that time.
Sure.
Because you can get overwhelmed with work. But the business, the restaurant that we own, it was started on from nothing, basically. And so when you know where you come from and the person that started it is no longer with you, which is my mother that passed away about 5 years ago.
Yes.
It moves you in a direction to where it is fun because you invested so many years into helping her grow her legacy, and to see that she's passed it on to me and my sister now to carry on. And I have the helpful support of my wife. She's been there. We've been married 15 years. I have 2 beautiful kids. So it's fun because we're all involved in it.
And it's a family affair too.
Family affair.
Which makes it even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what's really nice though is you and your wife can work together.
Yeah.
Because that's not the norm.
That's definitely not the norm.
Yeah. And so what's your secret? I mean, why do you guys work so well together?
The secret to being married and working together It really isn't no secret.
Okay.
You have to just learn how to deal with each other's emotions. You have to learn how to schedule. If, say, for instance, she go in one day, I might stay home. And that'll give you that space, that time, those few hours needed to just have your alone time or your privacy to where you have your me time. And when she comes home or if I come home, it's a joy. It's not that, oh, I seen you all day feeling.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you get to still miss your partner even though you work together. So we kind of had to work through that through the years. You know what I mean? When we first started working together, it was like, oh my goodness. You know what I mean? We need a break because we were young, you know what I mean? Early 30s. And now that I'm climbed into my 40s, I don't know where that came from, but you learn how to adjust and to, you know, to appreciate who you're married to. Yeah.
So let's talk about the restaurant business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we'll come back to the family stuff because everything is done in the context of family and Christian.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
But we'll talk a little bit about the restaurant business. My son, though he's in software, though he's in IT, has never quit getting involved in the food service business. So he worked in it when he was growing up and when he was going through college. And he fell in love with it. He liked the pace of it and the relationships. And so very few people are aware, and I am because of him, of how much goes on that nobody sees.
Man.
So tell me about that. tell me about what goes on to run a restaurant that nobody sees.
I think the number one thing is being responsible for people's livelihoods, people being responsible, hiring the right people. That's my angle of trying to explain to people. Like when you start a business, you think the concept is easy, but then you have to get people to believe in your system and what you put in place, and you don't get that all the time.
Yeah.
You get employees that really don't care. They don't know the history of the restaurant, don't care to know. They're just there to make their quick dollar and move around. But the hardest part is dealing with people because it's so unreliable now. I'm gonna just be honest with you. You know what I mean? It's some good ones out there still, but the calling in, you know, anybody that's been here, you know, because this is my church home. You know what I mean? Anybody that's come in and seen me working on any day or a Sunday is because I'm taking the slack of someone that's not there. You know what I mean? But I enjoy it because I get to serve and people. I feel like that's my position in the restaurant. It's not to just be an owner, but be a servant, and that's how it relates to my Christianity.
So I'm going to ask you a really difficult question. What do we need to do to help employees to understand what their bosses go through? Because the thing that I've noted in my career and with other folks I've talked to is how there tends to be this war between management and labor, so to speak. And so quite often I think the frontline employees don't feel understood. But conversely, I think managers and leaders feel misunderstood. So what do we need to do to improve that situation? What do you think? And I know that's a tough question.
No, I mean, it really is. It's about your care for people. It really is. I know it sounds like something that's just vanilla, but the way you treat people is what you get in return.
Gotcha.
And the key to because we do have great employees, you know, but you do have those bad apples that kind of stick out. And it's like, oh my goodness. But you be patient with them. But we try to pay our employees, you know, what they're worth. We don't start at the minimum wage. I believe investing into their life will get them to care enough to show up and do what they need to do. But a lot of bosses don't treat their employees correct or right. And that's what you get.
That's what you get the pushback.
You get that pushback.
So, tell me one of your great stories about running a restaurant. I'm gonna ramble a little bit here, give you time to think about it. So tell me about some of the hustle and bustle and troubles or a real bad day at a restaurant. What's that like? What's going on?
Whew. I can give you a bad and a good one.
Oh, okay, great.
Recently, because we've been opening our Pearland location for 5 years now, and I want to say our second year, into business out here in this area. Thanksgiving was coming upon us. We had 2 of them down. We had a couple of stoves that needed to be repaired. And we had 187 turkeys that need to be cooked. So the day of pickup, the day before Thanksgiving, we had all of these people in line waiting for their orders.
Wow.
And it was no way for me to get it to them on time. And literally it was people there for 6 to 8 hours. Like they got there that morning and it was sun was setting by the time they got their food.
Oh, that's serious pressure.
Oh my goodness. And how I even believe a couple of my church members was in line. And I felt so bad, but it was nothing I can do but try to state an apology. And they put us on the websites and Google and Facebook. And I mean, it was torture. It was torture. I want to say probably in the history of me being in the restaurant business, even since I was working for my mom, that was probably the worst experience, to see it head on, to see angry people.
Yeah.
When you know the intent was not to, make them angry, have their
Doing
food
the
on
best
time.
you can.
We're doing the best we could, because the kitchen we have is not big enough. You know what I mean, to be honest with you. But we learn from it, and we learn how to prep the next year. We learn from the mistakes, but I want to say that was probably, I lost sleep on a few nights on that situation. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing for me as far as achievements is the celebrities that you may see on the wall when you come in the restaurant.
Yes.
It's a pretty cool thing, because it's something that we created where we used to put them in picture frames and just put them all over the wall when we were at our original location, which we're still at. And we cut over the new concept of putting a film strip on the people we fed. And the cool part about it is because we watched these people growing up. Whether it was sports, whether it was BET, comic view, whether it was something movie related, anybody that was a celebrity, you watched on TV, and now you're getting to feed them. But being able to feed people that we watched on TV, that's pretty cool to me.
That is pretty cool. I would never have thought of that. Any one star in particular you want to mention?
Floyd Mayweather. I wasn't a big fan of his before. You know what I mean? I thought he used to dance around the ring a little too much, but his boxing technique is everything. But one day they were in town. I want to believe that Super Bowl, when the Super Bowl was in Houston. And they were in the Galleria, and they called us, and it's like 8:30. We're closing, we're shutting it down. The employees are washing everything down, getting ready to go. And they were like, man, can y'all stay open for us? And the office manager like, stay open. We closed, sir. They're like, well, we're bringing Mayweather by. We're like, okay, everybody get the food back online. We got a session going on. And they got there around 9 o'clock that night. And he came with about 20 people and fed everybody. And what stood out the most with him is, you hear stories that he likes to give wherever he goes. And that particular night, we had 12 employees working. And at the end of when they stopped, when they got ready to go, he gave each individual $500 a piece.
Oh, wow.
The dishwasher, the cook, the line buster,
that's touching.
They was leaving that night with nothing.
Yeah.
And he literally spent $7,000 on the employees just tipping.
That's an expensive meal.
That was more than the meal. You know what I mean? He tipped more than the actual meals for 20 people cost. And I'm I'm a fan of yours, not because of the boxing, but because you have a good heart. You know what I mean? Just because who you are. So that was a special moment for me.
I want to go back to the discussion we just had about how you treat employees and things.
Yeah.
And I think what you're pointing out is the value of having a Christian boss.
Yeah.
Or a Christian business owner. Because you're going to treat people differently.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And what you're pointing to, the reason you're so touched by what Floyd did.
Yeah.
The reason you're so touched by that is because that was a Christian act.
Yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
The Christian part of this walk for me is important because as a black man, you get sidetracked by the ego that a man carries. You get sidetracked by women. You get sidetracked by a lot of things can distract a man.
Yes.
And if you had that Christian grounding, and you know you have a wonderful woman at home that's raising two beautiful kids, and you have that family aspect, the Christian walk, it makes it easier to show an example to the people that work for you, that you work for a man of God. You don't that believes in the Christian way. You know what I mean? And so when a lot of people feed off of my energy that's at the restaurant, it's like they know they work for someone that means well by it. And and I think the Christian, speaking on the Christian walk, it's more like it's not an easy thing to do. You know what I mean? It's so easy to say, okay, I'm financially getting better. I'm in a place where I've never been, and you can start feeling yourself.
Yeah.
And God will knock you down so quickly.
Yes, He will.
You know what I mean? And my stage of being knocked down was, of course, when my mom passed away. And that was a year before I came to Pearland West. And that's why this church plays a huge, important role in my life, because I came to the church in 2018 and she passed in 2019. And so this particular church family was able to see my walk from that point to this point, which is out of the first 30-some years of my life, these last 5 were the most, important in my estimation. As far as having support, people calling, texting, all kinds of support that I never probably would have received from others. And it's one of those things where you learn to pick up the pieces too, because walking as a Christian, people believe it's easy because I'm in favor. And you are. You're in favor, but you will have bumps in the road just like anybody else that's not walking that faith.
So true.
And, it's not only did my mother die, my cousin passed away, and then 2 of the employees passed away from COVID. And it was like 6 people we've lost since 2019, just in the Mikki's family alone. And so anytime someone else passes away, it's like it draws me all the way back to 2019. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, all of these people, and it started with my mom. And so having that Christian belief and people seeing it, having the pictures all over the wall, like, I want people to see that this is not just a restaurant that we can make some money. No, this started out the house, in the kitchen, big pots to the ceiling. I mean, it was, if I could paint a picture, you wouldn't believe it. And to see where we are in 2024, going into the new year, I couldn't be blessed enough.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit here and just praise you for being not only a great Black Christian business owner, but great Black father.
Hell yeah.
And obviously, we know that there's an epidemic of kids being raised without fathers.
Yeah.
So it's nice to sit across from someone who fatherhood is important to.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so, talk to me about fatherhood and how you fitting it in with everything you have to do. Because I had a busy schedule growing up, and my kids always tell me I wasn't around enough, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to find the time.
Yeah.
How are you finding balance?
It's a thing that you learn from your youth, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because I came from that statistic of a divorced home. And the neat part about that, or the good part about it, is that my parents didn't split and didn't care about it. Like, it wasn't like my dad split and I ain't hear from him no more, like a lot of fathers do when they split. He stayed in my life the entire duration since the divorce, to where I get my morals from my father as far as the way he leads, because my mother didn't have to even file child support on him, and they divorced when I was 3 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
And so she trusted that he was going to take care of me from that 3-year-old point going into my 18 into my young adulthood, and he's still there. And I'm 43 and he's still there for me. And so, a big thing that I learned from that is missing him. And my stepfather, he was very profound in being a leader as far as in the household I was raised in as well, because I stayed with my mother predominantly. from the 4th grade all the way through high school until it was time to move. You know, I want to get my own place. But I said that I would love for my son to see my face every day. Something that I couldn't get, you know what I mean? Even though I got to see him on a weekend or every other weekend or throughout the summer, I didn't get to see him. And, you know, back then it wasn't cell phones and smartphones.
That's
and
right.
iPads.
Yeah.
You call it the house phone. You know what I mean? And that way, you know, kids, we're not on the phone. You know what I mean? And so it was really weekend time when I seen him the most. And so I said that if I ever get married and have kids, I want to be there from point A, which is the beginning, all the way into my last breath.
That's a beautiful pledge.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I know your kids, and I know your wife and family, so clearly you kept your pledge.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And to see them blossom, you know, this church has watched them grow up, man.
That's right.
My daughter hiding behind my leg, shy, and don't want to say nothing to nobody, to speaking and hugging people now. And my son almost being my height at the age of 11, playing basketball, doing, you know, what he loves to do. It's truly a blessing. It really is.
So he hoops, huh?
Oh yeah, he hoops. He surprised me. I had it in my game too, so I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised. But
so you were a player?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
What position?
I'm a shooting guard.
You're a shooting guard.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. He better than you?
I might pull a hamstring out there if I get with him now, but you know, that's like people comparing MJ to LeBron, man.
Right. Okay. All right.
You can't compare the two.
So this is about Mikki Soul Food Restaurant. I want to tell you, I've eaten there, as you know, a lot. And I eat there a lot because, man, you have good food.
I appreciate that.
Fantastically prepared food, delivered with a smile. Ambiance it's great. So tell me how you came about that formula. So you know, soul food has a long history, but I think your soul food seems to be a little healthier than some of the old traditional fare.
Yeah,
that's my estimation. But talk to me.
Yeah,
and about your secret family recipes. You gonna build one?
Man, I gotta look up above. Yeah, man, she'll come get me.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, no secret recipes. Talk to me about soul food.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, man, because, you know, a quick shout out to my dad, because a lot of people know him, but may not know him. He owns a restaurant as well, Houston This Is It, which is located in 3rd Ward.
Okay.
And so him and my mom was married, and she used to help him at the restaurant when they were dating in high school. And when they separated, she already kind of seen what the business looked like, but she went to work for the post office. It was kind of something that was in the back pocket. So going into working for the post office, they had her cook for one of their little, I think it was a outdoor picnic that they had for the company, and they wanted her to cook that day. And that's kind of where the concept started. She cooked, I forgot what items. I'll be lying to you if I can tell you what she cooked. But they asked her to do the next function. And then they was like, oh, you should make this a catering business. You can cook. And she was like, yeah, okay. And she was doing meatball, shrimp kebabs. It wasn't even soul food. You know, fettuccine and like finger foods and things of that nature. And so when she started doing more catering, people started asking her to cook soul food. You know what I mean? Oxtails, pork chops, and things of that nature. And she already loved to cook.
Yes. On
top of her kind of seeing a bit of the restaurant background from being with my dad, and they encouraged her to start her own business, man. And so her recipes is kind of what started it. You know what I mean? And so when we called it soul food, it was really a thing where you're cooking from the soul more than the actual definition of it.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're cooking from the soul. You're putting the season in it to make people like, oh, that touched my soul when I ate that. Like, I can feel that I feel good when I eat this food.
Yeah.
And that was her whole meaning behind soul food. Like, I want to change, when people taste my food, I want them to be like, I found my new spot. Like, I know where I'm taking my family every Sunday, that type of thing. And so, and then the list of menu items just grew extensively, to where we have 13, 14 entrees now. and about 10 or 12 side items to go with it. When we first started off, it was 5 meats, 5 sides. It was two steam tables and 2 workers.
Yeah. So, you know what? I'm not going to call you Mikki's Soul Food Restaurant anymore. I'm going to call you Mikki's Soul Food Artist. Because you're taking an artistic approach to feeding people. Because when you think about it, that's what artists do.
Yeah.
Is they try to produce things that make people feel good.
Yeah.
Or at least make them feel what they feel.
Yeah.
And so you're really speaking to people's soul through food, which is pretty doggone special. Yeah. There's only one thing wrong with your restaurant.
What's that?
It stays crowded.
And
actually that's a backhanded compliment. Because the reason it stays crowded is because it's so good.
Yeah. You know, I can't explain it. I really can't explain it. You know, if I went deep into how God has blessed Mikki's, you know, when my mom passed away, the numbers went up from when she was not here.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because she was the bad apple. It's because people loved her that much that when she passed away, it's like, we're going to make sure this business carries on. Like it's a different meaning to the restaurant. You know, when you talk about the whole experience of it, we didn't go, like I said, we didn't go into it like, let's make a quick buck. It was actually thought and love put into the whole brand. And now, you know, here we are. We you know, I can't talk about it enough. And, you know, what God has done for the restaurant more so than anything. It stays busy because of Him.
Yeah, it's obvious you're in His favor.
Yeah, we don't do advertising. I mean, we do social media, but we don't do any commercials. We don't do barely any radio time. And we just open the doors just like any other restaurant, and the people come.
Word of mouth works.
Oh yeah,
and that's how
it's still alive.
Yeah,
it's still alive.
Works very well.
Yeah.
So what's next? You're gonna open up 15 more locations. What are you doing?
So there's a thing of being satisfied and being greedy.
It's hard to know when you're at that that balance, isn't it?
Yeah, we definitely want to expand, but you don't want to do something that be over your head to where you lose quality. And you know, that was my mom's biggest thing. You know, quality. You know, you put up 15 stores, I guarantee you, 7 of them is gonna be, you know, on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to ratings, because you can't be everywhere at one time.
Right.
And you gotta have enough staff and enough people that believe in your system to follow it. And this day and age, that's not a high percentage of people that want to follow that path of following someone else's dream. You know what I mean? Before they get burnt out and want to do something else. And so, you know, our future, you know, we love the food truck industry. We have our first one, you know, we got our first one a couple of years ago. And we're looking to get a couple more, kind of just low overhead. You know, you don't have to worry about 32 employees. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. And if you have good food, people will buy.
No doubt, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, we might have another opportunity to add a brick and mortar. You know, only God, you know, knows that future for us. But we definitely want to get at least a couple more before I say, okay.
Share your wisdom with the young people who might be watching this and who have some aspirations to being a business entrepreneur, starting their own business or inventing or innovating something to be self-employed.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for them?
Start early. I sometimes, I mean, you're taught not to regret. You know, at a certain point in your life, you just deal with what decisions you make. Yeah. But I feel like I had a talent at what I do now. Like I told you, photography, videography, website development, all of these things that makes you pretty good money. Yeah. I didn't get started into it until I turned into my late 20s, early 30s. And when you do that, now I'm starting a family at the same time. And so now I'm having babies now. You know what I mean? Now life is really taking form. Yeah. And I'm trying to get my craft together at the same time when I could have got it together in high school.
Gotcha.
And when I was in high school, it was fun to run with the boys. Go hoop, go out on the weekends instead of study. You know what I mean? We had a kind of a carefree childhood. You know what I mean? Where my parents were always working, so it wasn't it wasn't a strict situation for me. They just had to kind of trust that we were gonna do the right thing as kids.
Yeah.
And I goofed off a lot of that time, whether it was sleeping in class, whether it was not being interested in the assignments being handed out, and that made me a middle of pack type of student, a C student. All throughout high school, I was a C student. When I know that I could have easily been an A or AB student, easily, because I had the education, I had the background, I had my good common sense to do this work, but I just didn't apply myself.
But don't you think some of the problem though is that underachievement is praised in our communities too often?
It is.
Because they look at the kid who's doing the right thing and they say, oh, he's a brainiac or she's a brainiac.
That was me talking about those kids when I was in high school. Like the smart, like it was uncool to be smart or something.
Yeah.
And
I saw that.
And I guarantee you those kids that I was kind of laughing or joking about being nerds or being in advanced classes, I bet they have a nice salary. I bet they're making a good living, 20 years, 25 years later now that we're out of high school. And so
delayed gratification.
Yeah. And again, the blessing that I was able to obtain was my mother having a restaurant again.
Yeah.
Because if she didn't have that, I wouldn't be owning a restaurant. I would be out here trying to find my way in life, which was before then. I was working at the post office just like she was. I was a mail carrier. And so it wasn't, I didn't have a big plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I look back on my youth and I'm like, man, if I could have did this all over again.
Well, you know what? I think everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Even people who follow the straight and narrow, I think they can look back and say they wish they'd done things differently.
Yeah.
Your story is unique and it's your story.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful story. So I wouldn't spend too much time with it.
Yeah. I mean,
but I think what you're sharing though could teach others so they can get ahead.
Start early. Start early. If it's a passion that you have, don't procrastinate on it.
Yeah.
Because it can happen. We started Mikki's from a regular household. We wasn't some millionaires or some people with this financial gain that we had advantage over anybody else.
Yeah.
My mom had the same dream that the next person had.
But she worked the dream.
And she worked the dream. And it's now it's giving back to where it can take care of me and my family.
Yeah. Talk about the economy a little bit, because one thing that I'm concerned about is grocery prices have gone up by triple. And so I think about restaurant owners like you, because grocery prices or food prices is essentially your supply chain.
Yeah.
So how has it been for you and how are you managing?
Well, we have two types of customers. We have the informed and the uninformed.
Okay.
The people that don't understand what's happening in today's world, they come in there and they complain about everything. Why the chicken this much? I'm like, ma'am, do you see what's going on in the world? Like, the grocery stores are going up. They're not the only ones that's going. Everything is going up.
Everything's going up.
But, the way you deal with it, the way we try to accommodate things of that nature is the quality of the food. You can't charge somebody a lot of money and give them bad quality. Then they're going to really give you the blues. They're going to tell you how they feel. And so dealing with a bad economy, we felt the effects. I'm not going to say the full effects of it because we have loyal customers. People that they stick with us, man. Go back to that God thing. It's something that you can't even explain.
Yes.
One story, the building burned down. I believe I told you that story. That was in 2018. And we were down for 6 months. And we made an announcement on Facebook that we were opening like on it was November something, like the first week in November. And we opened, it was like nothing ever changed. They were back, it was full. I'm like, that's what I mean by that. It's a God thing, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, back to your point, It's all about service. People gonna complain. They gonna say that things are going high, but if you treat them right, I believe people don't mind spending the money. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that I could actually put an opinion on as far as the economy and what Mikki's has, his value in. But I think they end up being informed once they go to Walmart and once they go to all these other places. And they okay, it's high everywhere. Yeah. It ain't just Mikki's, it's everywhere. Right. And you gotta adapt to life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it will be a day, it's really now a day where it's gonna be rich and poor people. It's not gonna be a middle class.
But tell me how you get involved in the community. I know that you're involved in your church, the tithing and offering and special offerings and all of that. And so obviously that's commendable.
Yeah.
But what are you doing in the community at large?
Man, we really I'm gonna reference my mom a lot when I, talk about Mikki's and what we do. She never wanted to be glorified for what she did for the community. She just wanted to do nice things for the community, pay for people's repasts, funerals, just donate food to families that's going through grief. We were just in Third Ward 2 weeks ago, the CUNY homes. We fed 150 people, young and old, at the basketball court. And it's one of those things where even in Pearland, we've joined the chamber. We invested in middle schools and elementaries and, getting banners for the football teams and all that kind of thing. And it's because you don't go into business. You do go into business to be financially set, and you do try to get your future in line, but you want to bless the community that you're in while you're getting your blessings. And so you don't come into Pearland thinking I'm gonna make all my money from people that stay in Pearland and just be rich and have this money. Take some of that money and show that you appreciate what they're doing for you by keeping your doors open. And so we do countless amounts of donations. Whether it's food, whether it's families that need money, anything you can name. And I it's kind of tying back into that whole God thing again. Because you can't be blessed and not bless others. Right. You can't not follow that method. If you're going into business anyway, if you're going in with the greed of I'm gonna just make all the money and everybody else that you just spend for yourself, you're gonna lose in the end.
I think you touched on something that's very important to me, and actually it's a subject that we're talking on quite a bit in church right now, or in Bible classes, and that is the Christian worldview versus the cultural worldview. And I think it can be proved over and over again that the Christian worldview leads to more human fulfillment than the cultural worldview.
Yeah.
Because the cultural worldview teaches you that greed is good, win at all costs.
Yeah.
And there are casualties that are taken along the way when you live that way. Whereas the Christian worldview teaches you to serve, to love your fellow man, and in all we do to glorify God, including running restaurants. So let's wrap up our time here by just giving you a chance to just talk to your customers, your friends, your neighbors, and say anything that you think might be of value to our listeners out there that you want to share.
Oh man, that life gives you a curveball. At some point in your life, if you live in a high life, or if you live in to where everything is great, look out for a curveball, because you have all these plans in life. I want to be married. I want to be a established business owner. I want to do this. I want to invest. And then God say, I'm gonna take your mom right now. Let me see how you adjust to that. Let me take one of your cousins that you grew up with. Let me see how you adjust to that. Where's your faith really gonna lie? You know what I mean? I want people to understand. I could easily tell you, come out. We got 2 locations. Come join us. That's great. But my message is, if you come and support us, that's highly appreciated. But the real message is, when you see Mikki's and you see our success, don't think that it's us over here living a highlight. We live I live a struggle every single day, waking up to not be able to call my mom again, and to call loved ones that's moved on. And you'd be like, man, he's doing so well at Mikki's. Like, that doesn't take the pain away, and it never will. Money, fame, all that, because I don't want. I tell people all the time that's close to me, I don't want to be famous. Like, I just want to do what God has me here to do, and that's to carry out my plan and my fulfillment of my path that He's given me, which is to be a servant, because that's what I do. We serve people every day at Mikki's. I mean, I make a living serving people, and I'll wear my regular uniform and get on a steam table sometimes with the employees, and they won't know who I am. And so you'll get to really see what your employees go through, the good and bad people that you deal with. And I had one guy tell me, he was like, man, you can't put no more in there for me? And brother, I can, but this is the service. Like, man, where your boss at? Like, sir, he's not here today. You know what I mean? But this is the servant. I'm not the type, like, hey, you speaking to him.
Yeah.
I don't have that ego of like who you talking to. Is my message to everyone is stay humble, man. You gotta stay humble. Because if you don't, you'll get knocked down and you won't know what to do. And people shy away from people that praise themselves, that think some people think they're a God, and things of that nature. Like, you can't come into this world thinking that you got it all. You know what I mean? Because the minute you do that, that's when that rug get pulled. And it's like not so fast.
Pride comes before a fall. I think the Bible says it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a powerful advice right there.
Yeah.
And it's not often followed, especially in the cultural worldview.
Mm, exactly.
Cultural worldview is about dominance
Yeah.
and pride and all that
And
stuff.
that's all good, but just expect what comes with that.
The rug's gonna get
Yeah,
snatched.
just expect what comes.
Nobody escapes.
Yeah. Yeah, ask anybody that have money. You just can't have it, and you just no, you gotta be humble with that. Yeah.
Great conversation.
Man.
I think, let's see, what time did we finish? I think I'll maybe able to make it to the restaurant before the line gets long.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks so
Thank
much
you
for your
again, man.
time.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoyed this edition of the Orange Peel Podcast. We hope you like it enough to like, comment, and subscribe.
Go back to your earliest memories of gathering around the table. Obviously, we all start out eating food, but then it starts to become more. When did you realize it's more?
Food has been my passion since I was a very little girl. Both my dad and my mom cook. So I have cooked like all my life.
Yeah.
So I've always loved to cook.
And you love from the beginning, because sometimes it's a chore. When we're kids, you go, oh, I gotta cook the food again.
It's never been a chore for me. It's always been a pleasure. It's just that I cooked literally for my entire family at the age of 14.
Wow. Do you remember the very first meal you made?
Yep. I made the gravy about as thick as mud, but
Your parents probably pretended to like, oh, this is really good, honey.
they really did. They did, but my mom showed me later how to really make it right. So.
Another very popular dish that you can't find very many places.
That is probably one of the most popular dishes, the oxtails.
Mm-hmm. What do we have here?
Everybody comes in and get those.
Okay. Now, excuse me.
Okay.
The sign of a good cobbler, of course, is if the crust is all the way there.
Exactly.
And this crust is so all the way there that it came back around. It came back. Delicious. The other thing I love about this place, Jeanette, is when we say soul food, even when you walk in, the whole ambience and surroundings, I'm reminded of going to a restaurant back in East Texas with my grandma back in the day. This looks like it's back in the day.
And that's exactly how it was meant to be. It's meant to have that down home feeling, Just like my son came up with the Kool-Aid, and like my kids were here from the very beginning, so it's like a family thing, and everything we do it like I said, with love. So yeah.
I'm tasting the love right here.
Yeah.
You know, customer service is another part of business here, and you couldn't do it without the folks who work for you. So,
without a doubt, we have great people. We couldn't do it without them. I mean, like, we're our whole unit. I mean, literally, like we're like one big family, honestly, and everybody has their part and everybody plays it well. I'm really proud to say that these people that work for me work for me.
all right, let me just tell you that I am happy to be part of your family as well, especially when you bring me servings like this. Jeanette, congratulations on your success, and thanks for nourishing our soul.
Thank you. Yes.